Tell us about GoBots.
Yeah, I mean, GoBots was kind of evolved out of the Transformers and GI Joe stuff, but yeah, it was like I had kind of like before, during, and after Godland, I had sort of self publish things and small press things. So I had 8 opus, and I'd put out like the occasional like 8 opus graphic novel like while I was still working on Godland, and then I did a book, American Barbarian, and then that was published by Ad House, and that was kind of like that was my first like full color. I wrote, drew, lettered, colored, like where it was like a one man, like completely like my own thing. And did that, and then did like a couple other did like Final Frontier, which was kind of like in a similar vein, and then Satan Soldier and stuff. And really I wanted to like build on that, like what I'd done with American Barbarian, but it was I just like those subsequent projects just weren't. I just couldn't find anybody interested in publishing them, and I didn't feel like I had, again, like the resources to self-publish, and
Right.
it was kind of and again, like I was close to trying crowdfunding, and it was getting kind of frustrating, and I thought, well, like I've been doing comics at this point for like, I don't know, maybe like 10 years or something, and I thought like let me try to, like, there's this thing called the comics industry, and like people break into it, and like you go to these companies, and then they like pay you like you turn in a comic, and then they pay you for it, and it's not like you do a comic, you publish it, you say blah blah blah, and then maybe like 6 months later you maybe get paid for it. It's like, no, like, so let me see about that, let me see what happens if I try to do that. And so I started sending stuff out to like every publisher, following their submission guidelines and stuff. And IDW, like they bid, like John Barber specifically was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, yeah, I know your work. I'm a fan, and you want to work with us. That's awesome. And he gave me like some cover work and stuff. And then one day was like, hey, how would you like to do a Transformers and GI Joe comic that you write and draw, and it's Jack Kirby style, and the GI Joes go to Cybertron, and it's kind of like if like I forget exactly, but it was like, oh, if it's like um, Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos go to New Genesis, or or
Right.
something like some Kirby reference, and I was like,
The
wow,
Howling Commandos invade the blue area.
yeah, something like that. So it was, and I was like, man, that is like too perfect. It's something like I would not have even thought it would be possible for, like, if I wanted to pursue that, I'd be like, well, there's no way, like nobody's gonna let me do that, and
Right.
it just played to my strengths in such a, and like I just had like this clear vision of like what that could be and how great it could be, and yeah, it was like I just put like everything into that. I just kind of like, and even he kind of floated it as like, hey, maybe, like, what do you like, I don't know, like Hasbro might not be up for it, I don't know, whatever, but like maybe, and don't quit your day job or whatever, don't
Sure. Sure.
but I did, I did uh put everything in, like, I from the day he just kind of floated it, I started immediately, all hands on deck, like fully working on this comic, because I knew that, like, if 3 months went by or 4 months, and then it's like, oh yeah, we are doing that, I'd be like 3 or 4 months behind. So I was like, let me do this. And I thought, like, okay, what if I put all this effort into this thing and then it doesn't happen? I thought, okay, I'll just like rebrand it and make it.
Right.
And I was gonna. The idea was I would do Star Morphins versus the Icelandic army. That's what I would do with these stories. If the GI Joe, and it didn't fall through. It did happen, and I got to do it, and it was like an amazing experience. I loved it, and it was a really nice feeling of like finishing a comic and then getting paid. Like, it was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is like a machine that works.
Plus royalties on the back end. Is that how
No,
ID?
no, that the those that, like the Transformers and the GI Joe and the GoBots, no royalties. So it was kind of like I had to make that decision
I
of like,
see.
this this like definite payment, like cash in hand. How do I feel about like what amount of money would make me feel better when they make a like movie out of my comic and my name's not even on it? Like what, you know, like I was doing those kind of thoughts, and it's like, yes, this is fine. I am okay with that.
But how fitting would that be? Because that's the exact Jack Kirby experience.
Yeah,
right. How great would it be for you to walk into like Toys R Us and there's a whole rack of, and they've got a Tom Scioli illustration they took out of there and they put it on the cover of the thing, and just no mention, no concept that.
Yeah, I mean, I got to see that play out. Like, and I was totally conscious. Like, we have Jack Kirby as example, so I knew, but I had done the creator owned route and stuff, and it wasn't like blowing my mind. So I'm like, well, let me try the Jack Kirby model, and yeah, people were saying to me like, what are you doing this like, and it's like, well, I need to do this. Like, I need, like, first of all, I don't really care about okay, like I don't like it, like I care about the fit, like this, like I want to make stuff that's really cool. And I figured,
were these properties, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
Were these properties important to you, like as a kid? Were these things like you were way into G.I. Joe, Transformers, or GoBots, or was it just like it could have been anything? It could have been Thundercats and whatever.
Right, exactly. Like I'm into them as much, and I got more into them like as I worked on them. But no, I'm really into making cool comics. Like I want to make cool like I want to blow people's minds with comic books, and this was like an amazing way to do that. And it was, and it was like sustainable and stuff. So yeah, I did, I did that, and I got to get what that felt like, so it was like, yes, I was happy to make that deal, and it was great, and it worked, and I made, like a body of work that I'm like immensely proud of, that I could have, like, I would not have created any other way, and and I'm doing fine. There were some rough moments. There were, like, it was kind of like, it's like Christmas, and then the trade collections are coming out. And like I don't get paid anything for, like, I get paid this like upfront, fee. And so I'm seeing and I'm thinking like, wow, like when I had a like a regular job, like there was always like a Christmas bonus or something. This is like my first job where there's no Christmas bonus.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, can I? It's like, oh, that's not the deal you made. It's so like, so I felt that, but I'm like, okay, it's still fine. It's fine. Okay. And then, but then it was like, okay, I know what that feels like now. Like I went through it, and I'm still made that deal, but it's like, okay, I don't want to spend 30 years doing this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of those properties, they've got humongous fan bases and giant franchises based on them, not counting GoBots, but was there,
and the name recognition? It doesn't.
Yes.
But the word GoBots, I would I would say is a more internationally recognized name than even Transformers. Like, as strange as that, GoBots, it, like, people know
that makes sense in a weird way.
The word GoBot, it's just like thought, like, it kind of snuck into the collective unconsciousness just a little bit before Transformers, and kind of like stayed there, and it's just like and when I talk to people about GoBots, it's like, oh yeah, GoBots, like people would light up, in a way that they didn't when I'd say like, oh, I'm doing Transformers. Oh, that's interesting. It's GoBots. Yeah.
I'm a Psykill. I've got a Psykill tattoo. I can't show it on live TV.
Well, yeah, when you get beyond just the name GoBots, that's where like the recognition falls to the
But in a way, that's great, right? I mean, that's your chance to do what you want to do. But what I meant is, like, the people that read Transformers and G.I. Joe comics, I had a bunch of customers that would read them. Some of them are comics fans, but many of them are like, I'm a G.I. Joe fan, and I read every G.I. Joe, or I'm a Transformers guy, and I collect every Transformers thing. Did you get response from the fan base like, this is a non-traditional style, this is not what I'm used to seeing in my Transformers books? Or what was the reaction in that?
Yeah, I mean, I got like every every imaginable reaction you can think, like from the sublime to the hellish, you know, like I got every kind of reaction you could think of. And you know, like I when I and like the difference between working on something like this and my own thing is like my own creator own things is like if I came up with some kind of like sci-fi concept, it's kind of hard to sell somebody on, like take a chance on this sci-fi concept you've
Yeah,
got.
right.
But if I kind of if it's called Transformers or GI Joe, then it's like, oh yeah, like a lot of, you know, work has already been done to like get these people in the door and acquaint them with what you're, and like here's my you know, it's a much easier you know, entryway. But yeah, like yeah, and when I created this, I kind of understood that like the super fans have their taste in these things, but like the super fan was like too narrow an audience. Like it wasn't a large enough audience for me. Like I was shooting for like people who like maybe heard of this stuff but don't really know much, or like
right.
Kid but lost it. Like I, you know, but then like most of the population is like people who just like don't care about it. Maybe they know like the Michael Bay movies or something, you know.
Right.
But like I was going for like I wanted to you know bring you know Transformers and GI Joe to the masses. So I understood.
No, that's what's interesting. That's what I mean, because it didn't just go to just people that read comics in a way that even superhero comics do. Those sort of like they have an interesting footprint in the market.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, yeah. And I feel like, I mean, I don't have access to any kind of like you know, statistical data or anything, but my impression is that work, like my Transformers and GI Joe, sort of made like the largest footprint of like everything I've done, maybe until this Jack Kirby.
Right.